Hello, this is Ali, welcoming you to the 2160th edition of the Enfield Talking Newspaper, Dateline 20th of September 2018. The readers this week are Danny, John and Ali, with Peter on the controls. The editor was Phillip, and the production and distribution team is Jean and Lindsay. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Preuilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and Our Enfield magazine and are their copyright. Events information has been collated by us from other sources. The lead story this week is Heart for High Street. Before the news, we have one or two special news items and notices. First, the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 1st of October 2018, which are sunrise 0700, sunset 1838. We also have one special notice from Enfield Vision, which is a reminder that the Focus Day will be held on Saturday the 6th of October from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Community House. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Danny will read the first item of local news.
Heart for High Street. Councillors have given the green light to a regeneration scheme that will provide more than 100 homes. The second phase of the Electric Quarter project in Ponders End will provide 107 new homes, 31 of which will be classed as affordable. It forms part of a £50 million regeneration plan for 167 homes, several shops and a community space designed to create a heart for Ponders End High Street. More than half of the 40 family-sized homes built under the first phase of the scheme are already occupied, and a further 21 affordable flats are nearing completion. But at a cabinet meeting last Wednesday, ward councillors raised concerns that pledges made to the community over the provision of amenities may not be honoured. Councillor Doug Taylor, Labour, member for Ponders End, said Cabinet needs to ensure appropriate community facilities are available. Otherwise, the local community, who were led to believe this would change the nature of the area, will be a bit shortchanged. Councillor Taylor pointed out that a 2016 compulsory purchase order, a CPO, stated that Ponders End Library would be relocated to a prominent location on the High Street opposite the mosque. He said, "I'm not certain that is still the aspiration as reflected by officers, but I think it does reflect a general lack of engagement with ward members and the need to re-engage with the local community about the future. As ward councillors, we are very keen to make sure this is a genuine improvement for the area." Councillor Taylor added that in 2013 the scheme included a pledge to provide space for the expansion of Enfield Mosque, and this was restated in the 2016 CPO. He said the mosque had expected a much larger piece of land for expansion than is now available, believing the council would sell it land previously occupied by a plastics factory. Councillor Taylor suggested the council provide compensatory space for the mosque in the rest of the development. Leader of Enfield Council, Councillor Nezel Kaliskan, said she was clear that regeneration should happen with a community and for a local community, but not to a local community. She pledged to continue to engage with residents and said she was unclear why there has been so much miscommunication with the mosque in terms of land. Councillor Kaliskan said she was keen to ensure the mosque would have enough space to expand.
Failure to provide children with secure accommodation, and a subheading, forced to stay in overnight cells. If a child is not granted bail after being charged with a criminal offence, it falls on local authorities to find them a safe place to stay before they are tried. But some local authorities are failing to do this, according to a London Assembly report. It says many requests made by the police to local authorities for secure accommodation for child offenders are not being met, forcing children into police cells overnight. Caroline Pigeon, London Assembly Police and Crime Committee member, said the current situation of children in police cells overnight is unacceptable and shames our justice system. London needs the right accommodation for detained children. We are especially concerned about the experiences of children being held in police cells. In 2017, just under 2,000 children were charged and detained by the Metropolitan Police in London for a criminal offence. A total of 394 requests were made to local authorities to provide children with secure accommodation, but only 50 children were provided with secure accommodation, leaving the rest in police cells overnight. 2 of these children were sent to secure accommodation facilities in Leeds and Manchester. One of the reasons for the failure to provide these children with secure accommodation is that there are only 6 secure units for child offenders in the whole country, and none of them within the M25 region. The London Assembly is now urging the Mayor of London, the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime, which is MOPAC, and local authorities to act and help to provide more overnight accommodation for children being detained. Although it recognises it is unlikely that one borough would have enough demand to justify creating a local secure unit, it says one borough needs to take a lead in providing secure accommodation for children all over London. Ms Pigeon added, "We are disappointed by the apparent lack of action to improve the provision of alternative accommodation for children in custody. We urge the Mayor, MOPAC, London councils and the London Safeguarding Children Board to urgently find a solution."
TfL backs cycle scheme despite safety fears. Transport for London has backed the council's handling of the Cycle Enfield scheme after residents raised fresh safety fears. TfL said it is satisfied the A1010 Hertford Road cycle lanes meet its design specifications and insisted safety is its top priority. It comes in response to a complaint raised by a member of the Enfield Transport User Group, ETUG, that the council had put road users' safety at risk due to poorly designed floating parking bays. The bays, which have been set out into the road to accommodate cycle lanes, have narrowed the section of carriageway between Tramway Avenue and Causeway Road. ETUG committee member Phillip Ridley lodged a formal complaint with the council in response to an independent safety audit, admitting the bays could give rise to glancing blows from passing vehicles. Mr Ridley, who works as a town planner, said such a risk was unacceptable and the council should have included a buffer zone of half a metre between the parking bays and the carriageway to reduce the chance of vehicles colliding with car doors. He said pedestrians and cyclists could be killed due to the lack of space and urged the council to make a number of changes to the section of road. Mr Ridley said the report placed unacceptable blame on driving error and that the scheme should have been better designed. He added that the report failed to consider the fact that the floating parking bays reduce cyclists' visibility and force buses onto the wrong side of the road when pulling out of stops. He also called on the council to permanently remove parking spaces north of the northbound Tramway Avenue and Cuckoo Hall Lane bus stops. Nigel Hardy, TfL's head of programme sponsorship, said, "Cycle Enfield will transform walking and cycling in the borough and reduce road danger for the most vulnerable road users. Safety is our top priority, and we work closely with our partners, including Enfield Council, to review new cycling infrastructure. We are satisfied that the cycle lanes along the A1010 meet the designs we agreed with Enfield before construction. Residents reported cars being written off following a spate of accidents on the section of road since the rollout of the Cycle Enfield scheme. The council subsequently claimed its records showed there had been 5 minor accidents since the scheme was implemented, with no serious injuries, although the photograph with the article does show a seriously damaged car in one of these floating parking bays. A TfL safety audit published in August 2016 identified potential problems with floating parking bays set out into Hertford Road, including visibility concerns. The auditors said they expected behavioural change on the part of drivers to reduce the risk of crashes and that narrower carriageways meant drivers would reduce their speed.
Taxi drivers across London who could face a daily congestion charge of £10.50 have taken their fight to the Mayor of London's doorstep. Cab drivers could soon no longer be exempt from paying the daily levy under proposals put forward by Transport for London, TfL. The charge was introduced in 2003 and is imposed on drivers travelling through central London from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. On Thursday, campaigners who are part of the Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain, IWGB, protested outside City Hall, where they called on Sadiq Khan to reverse these plans or make taxi operators pay the charges instead. Yazin Aslan, taxi driver and co-founder of IWGB, said, "We represent the majority of ethnic minority drivers. It is shocking we have to protest against a Labour mayor. We want more workers' rights and to stop taxi companies exploiting drivers." Mr. Aslan said that taxi drivers have to work a minimum of 35 hours a week just to offset the costs they face before making any money. These include petrol, licensing and insurance costs. If they had to pay a daily charge of £10.50 every day, this would seriously impact on their incomes.
Special constable caught driving without a licence. A special constable was dismissed and barred from working in law enforcement after being caught driving alone with only a provisional licence and no learner plates. Desiree Ozapanin from Haringey pleaded guilty at a gross misconduct hearing at Stratford Magistrates Court on June the 21st, 2017. She was sentenced last Friday and fined £110, a victim surcharge of £30, and she received 3 penalty points. Osapanin was off duty when she was pulled over by police in Victoria Road, Edmonton, for not displaying learner plates and driving without a supervisor on May the 4th, 2016. She faced allegations of discreditable conduct and a breach of honesty and integrity. The chair and panel members considered all of the evidence provided and found that, in regards to the breach of discreditable conduct, it was proven as misconduct only, while the breach of honesty and integrity was proven as gross misconduct. Osapanin was dismissed without notice and placed on a barred list, preventing future employment within law enforcement and associated law enforcement organisations or governing bodies.
You don't expect to be stepping over human remains. Bereaved family members were shocked to find unburied bones strewn about a cemetery. Bones, believed to be human, were discovered by a friend of Baroness Meryl Hussein Is while visiting the Turkish and Turkish Cypriot part of Tottenham Park Cemetery in Edmonton on August the 29th. This is not the first time human remains were found on the ground in the graveyard. A human jawbone and vertebra were found in May, and in 2015 visitors found bones during a community clean-up event. Baroness Hussein Is said, "People have been finding human remains in the graveyard, and it's not something we expect to see. My family are buried there. Everyone in the Turkish and Turkish Cypriot community knows someone who is buried there. All we want is the cemetery to be run properly." It's shocking. You don't expect to be stepping over human remains. The discovery in 2015 of bones in a derelict chapel prompted a petition calling on cemetery owner Badgehurst to clean up and improve the burial ground. Friends of Tottenham Park Cemetery was formed after the discovery in 2015 out of anger at the upkeep of the cemetery. The group says the graveyard was often left open all day and night and that vegetation was not cut back, with trees leaning dangerously. Baroness Hussein Is said, "Private burial grounds such as this should come under the same legal framework as those run by the council and churches. It seems there is a loophole for private cemeteries where they can do exactly as they please." Metropolitan Police say the bones have been taken for examination to confirm whether they are human. Enfield Independent was unable to contact Badgehurst
despite the selection bid. MP Joan Ryan has pledged to continue fighting for the people of Enfield following a bid to deselect her amid a row over anti-Semitism. The Enfield North MP said she will keep on campaigning on issues such as affordable housing, austerity and access to health care. Ms Ryan vowed to redouble her efforts to fight for true Labour values in the face of a minority of party members who, she claimed, are seeking to undermine them. Members of Enfield North Constituency Labour Party, CLP, narrowly voted in favour of a no-confidence motion against Ms Ryan at a meeting on September 6, seen as a first stage in a bid to deselect her as an MP. Ms Ryan said, "Nothing will stop me doing my job. That is my first priority. I love Enfield. I think it is a fantastic place to live, and I love working with all the communities in the borough. I consider it a vocation to serve my own community. There is no greater privilege." Ms Ryan said she was lobbying for people to be paid the living wage, pointing to figures showing that more than 30% of people in Enfield earn less than they need to live on. She is also working with police and councillors to combat the county lines trade, which involves gangs targeting vulnerable youngsters to use as drug mules. The Enfield North MP, who chairs Labour Friends of Israel, insisted she had been targeted by people who had recently infiltrated the Labour Party because of her stance on anti-Semitism. It follows the revelation that Iranian state broadcaster Press TV, which is banned in the UK, broadcast footage of the CLP meeting. She said, "I know I was targeted because of Friends of Israel. The thing that tells me that is the content of what was said at the meeting and the fact that Press TV broadcast it." The MP raised concerns about the legitimacy of the motion, claiming there were 187 people eligible to vote, but 191 ballot papers were counted. She said that while the majority of people who had recently joined the Labour Party wanted to see hope and change, a small number of them did not share Labour values. Despite her disagreements with Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, the Enfield North MP reaffirmed her commitment to a Labour government. She said, "I would back a Labour government. I have not said anything about Jeremy Corbyn. What I am calling on him to do is deal with the anti-Semitism that has been allowed to flourish in our party. I joined the Labour Party to fight racism. Anti-Semitism is racist behaviour. I am very upset and distressed at the fact that it has flourished in the Labour Party."
People warned me it wouldn't be easy. A mother of two rode the River Thames in memory of her husband who died of a brain tumour. Teresa Dauncey's husband, George Cordova, was diagnosed with a brain tumour in 2004. He died aged 44 in August 2011, leaving two young daughters. Ms Dauncey, who lives in Haringey, took part in the Great River Race, a 22-mile challenge up the River Thames to raise £5,000 for the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery in Queen Square, London, where George was treated. She and 17 other rowers raised the money on behalf of the National Brain Appeal, a charity that helps hospitals fundraise for clinical trials. While her husband underwent treatment, Miss Dauncey took on the role of Chief Executive of the National Brain Appeal in 2006. The 49-year-old said, "Looking back, knowing that when I went to work all through George's periods of illness I was helping people like my husband, it still motivates me today. The outlook for patients in terms of treatment options and long-term prognosis was bleak back then. Sadly, it still is." Ms Dauncey and her crew took part in the race in a dragon boat, shallow canoe from China. The Great River Race started at Millwall Riverside, Docklands, and at around 10 a.m. and finished 21.6 miles up the River Thames at Ham House in Richmond. Ms Dauncey said, "People warned me it was not going to be easy. We started around 10 a.m. and thought it was going to be about 4 hours hard rowing. But Miss Dauncey and her crew finished the race in 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Fit doctors more likely to ask about exercise. Fit doctors are more likely to ask their patients about how much exercise they're doing, a new study suggests. Doctors who are less active are not as likely to inquire about their patients' levels of physical activity. The new study, published in the British Journal of General Practice Open, concludes that doctors' own lifestyles influence their preventive counselling about physical activity. The authors questioned doctors who were taking part in the longitudinal study of Norwegian medical students and doctors. Of the 526 medics who responded, 307, that's 58%, said they usually or often probed their patients about their exercise habits. Meanwhile, doctors were less likely to ask patients about their drinking habits, with only 27% asking their patients about how much they drink. The study, led by experts from the University of Oslo, concludes the more physically active doctors were, the more they counselled on physical activity. No association was found between doctors' own alcohol habits and frequency of counselling on alcohol.
Revenue. Banning junk food adverts on Transport for London, TfL networks, will not dent its revenue, insists the Mayor of London. In May, Sadiq Khan announced he would be banning all junk food adverts on the capital's transport network to tackle childhood obesity. During Mayor's Question Time on Thursday, Conservative London Assembly member Gareth Bacon raised concerns that Mr Khan's plans would cause a drop in TfL's advertising revenue, of which junk food adverts contribute an additional £13 million. But Mr Khan defended his decision. He said, "I don't expect the loss of junk food adverts will make a dent in revenue." Cancer research has shown that advertising does affect children's food choices. The proposed ban will reduce a child's direct exposure to this. If we don't address it, we are placing a strain on the NHS. A total of 40% of children in London are overweight. Mr Bacon said he had spoken to industry experts who were worried about the impact the loss of junk food adverts and wanted to know exactly how Mr Khan would be replacing the revenue from them. Mr Khan said, "We still have that advertising space. We don't expect any change as we expect brands to advertise healthier food instead. Even if there is a small drop in advertising revenue, that will be a small price to pay." But Mr Bacon, still unsatisfied with the answer, said Mr Khan was wasting his time and not answering the question. He pointed out that the delay in the opening of the Elizabeth line, which was due to open in December, was just another financial strain on TfL's £1 billion deficit. Mr Khan hit back, saying TfL has never had a surplus, it has always operated on a deficit. "I am confident the team we have in place will make efficiencies."
Police search for vulnerable missing man. Police are concerned for the welfare of Tarkan Eroglu, who was last seen in Enfield at midday on Saturday. Tarkan, aged 43, has learning disabilities and is extremely vulnerable, police said. If you have any information concerning his whereabouts, please call Enfield Police on 101, quoting CAD 5617/SEP15.
Council faces a very challenging situation. Enfield Council will review its outsourcing arrangements after raiding reserves to plug a £9.2 million budget gap. The council will also scrutinise its work with agencies and its management structure after admitting it is unlikely to make savings that have been earmarked for areas such as adults and children's services. A report discussed by the Cabinet last Wednesday revealed an expected £3.3 million overspend in adult social care and a £4 million overspend in the children's and families budget during the current financial year. The report also admitted money-making schemes such as renting out office space at the Civic Centre had failed to raise the expected revenue. Councillor Mary Maguire, Cabinet Member for Finance and Procurement, said, "We are not in a good position, as everyone knows. Cuts have proved very difficult to deliver for a number of reasons, but work is continuing in departments to come up with further cuts and income generation intended to mitigate that shortfall." Councillor Maguire said there would be a tight rein on agency arrangements and a review of all outsourcing in a bid to close the budget gap. Enfield Council has been forced to make £161 million worth of savings since 2010, as funding cuts from central government have hit local authorities across the country. It hiked council tax by the maximum possible amount of £2.99%, plus a 2% precept for adult social care in March this year. Neighbouring local authority Haringey Council also announced this week it would have to dip into its reserves to plug a £16 million budget gap. In June, Barnet Council pledged to review its arrangements with outsourcing giant Capita after revealing it was facing a £9.5 million budget deficit. Enfield Council leader Councillor Nizal Kaliskan said around 70% of UK local authorities were in a similar financial position. But, she added, there have to be some lessons learned so we can move forward in a fashion so that we do not have to rely on our reserves. Deputy Leader Councillor Daniel Anderson added that the council faced a very challenging situation that will affect our residents very seriously.
On the curriculum. Research by the Gynecological Cancer Awareness Charity, the Eve Appeal, has found that 2/3 of parents think children should be taught about the symptoms of cancer at school. As a result, the Eve Appeal has launched its Put Cancer on the Curriculum campaign, calling for the government's new draft guidance on relationships and health education to include education on cancer. Athena Lamnissos, Chief Executive of the Eve Appeal, says, "We want the next generation of children to be armed with knowledge that can help save lives. Here are 5 things the Eve Appeal says children should know. 1. Cancer does not discriminate. Everybody can get cancer at some stage in their lives, and it may affect those who are closest to us. 2. Sometimes the cause of cancer is known. For example, with cervical cancer, there are viruses that can be passed on during sex that can sometimes start a cancer developing on the cervix. The good news is that we can get protected against it using the HPV vaccine," she says. The vaccine is offered at school to girls aged 12 to 13 years old. The second dose of the vaccine is normally offered 6 to 12 months after the first. Boys aged 12 to 13 will be offered the HPV vaccine at some stage in the near future. 3. Cancer does not always kill. There have been huge advances in research in recent years, and as a result, treatment has improved, meaning more people have a better chance of surviving cancer. Cancer Research UK says 50% of people diagnosed in England and Wales survive cancer for 10 years or more, and the UK survival rate has doubled in the last 40 years. 4. Cancer could be in your genes. Certain genes can make it more likely that carriers develop cancer. A good example is the BRCA gene mutation, which predisposes high-risk women to both ovarian and breast cancer. Actress Angelina Jolie had both her breasts removed after discovering she had a defective BRCA1 gene. NHS England are just completing the 100,000 Genomes project, which will give us even more knowledge about cancers that may run in families. 5. You can reduce your risk. There are steps you can take to reduce the chances of developing cancer, including not smoking, which can reduce your risk of lung and other cancers, avoiding too much ultraviolet radiation from the sun and sunbeds, as it's the main cause of skin cancer, not drinking alcohol excessively, which can reduce your risk of breast, colon, prostate and other cancers, having the HPV vaccine, which can reduce your risk of both cervical and vulval cancer, eating a healthy, well-balanced diet, which can help reduce your risk of many cancers, always attending health screenings such as smear tests when they're offered to you as an adult, keeping active. Exercise can help reduce the risk of cancer, particularly bowel, breast and womb cancer. For more information, visit www.eve-appeal.org.uk. That's www.eve-appeal.org.uk.
Mayor's advisor headbutts policeman. Stop-and-search advisor to the Mayor of London headbutted a police officer when he intervened as his friend was arrested. Kenneth Hines, 59, who has also worked with the Metropolitan Police, stepped in as officers detained Jamal Thomas Edwards on suspicion of drugs offences. A court heard his friend was calm during the arrest until Hines questioned the officers about why he was being detained. Thomas Edwards then began shouting a phone number to Hines and resisting arrest, Highbury Corner Magistrates Court was told, and Hines assaulted an officer in the struggle which followed. Hines, from Haringey, North London, was convicted of assault on a police officer and obstructing police after a judge said his actions could have gone horribly wrong for everyone. District Judge Susan Williams said he acted out of the best of motives but got carried away when he assaulted PC Richard Cousins as the officer tried to move him away. The officers who arrested Thomas Edwards had also detained another man moments earlier after he was found to have a combat knife, but the judge agreed Hines did not know that. Handing him a 12-month conditional discharge, she said, "You made the situation considerably worse. Fortunately, nobody was injured in the process. It could have turned horribly wrong for everyone." Hines was also ordered to pay £670 in costs over the incident on April the 16th, but his solicitor Simon Natas said they will appeal the conviction. Judge Williams said, "I think Mr. Hines acted out of the best of motives in the worst possible way. That, I think, is the effect of all of this. Unfortunately, he didn't know exactly what was going on. If he had known, I strongly suspect he would have behaved in a very different way. Unfortunately, when things happen quickly, there is not the time or opportunity to give the explanation he felt was merited at the time, and to which he mistakenly felt he was entitled. She added this was a difficult situation. Sometimes it seems to me the best thing to do is when you are asked to stay back and stay out of it, stay back and stay out of it. His trial heard an officer had told Hines that Thomas Edwards was all right as he was being detained. But as he continued to ask why they were making the arrest, his friend became more agitated and began shouting a phone number, which Hines was determined to note down. Police feared if Hines made a call, it could lead to evidence being destroyed. Judge Williams said, by refusing to leave the scene and move away as the police wanted him to, Mr. Hines deliberately made the situation worse. Mr. Hines could see and knew it. Nevertheless, by his behaviour, moving in and refusing to leave and continually shouting out, he was determined to note down the telephone number despite the fact that it was clearly causing Thomas Edwards to resist. She added, he came up close enough to PC Cousins for his head to collide with the officer's cap. The spontaneous outcry recorded on footage clearly supports this. There was no reason or opportunity to invent a false allegation of assault. I prefer PC Cousins' evidence. I am sure Mr. Hines got too close and was being aggressive with PC Cousins. The judge said she was quite sure Hines pushed the officer, adding his head collided with PC Cousins' cap while he was acting aggressively towards the officer, and I find him guilty for these reasons. Hines, who is also a youth worker and chairs a stop-and-go search monitoring group in Haringey, has previously received a £22,000 payout from the British Transport Police after a similar case against him was dropped. He has also advised British Transport Police's Stop and Search Consulting Group. Referring to his work in the community, the judge said, whilst not a man of good character, now aged 59 and well regarded within the community in Haringey, I have taken into account in his favour all these activities and how they informed his decision to intervene in the events on April the 16th. She added, I don't doubt the real and valuable contribution he has made to improving relationships and working with local police.
Show some love. Residents, businesses, students and young people are being encouraged to get behind the I Love Enfield campaign. The campaign is designed to inspire people to be proud of the borough they live in and help sustain a strong local community. It was officially launched at an event where Enfield Council thanked volunteers representing all kinds of organisations who have given at least 100 hours of their own time to help others. The volunteers were the very first recipients of I Love Enfield badges, which Enfield Council hopes will become a symbol encompassing the vibrancy, diversity, kindness and creativity of the people who live in the borough. The 100 Hours event is the perfect showcase for the campaign as it supports one of its key messages, I volunteer. Other strands of I Love Enfield are I vote and I keep Enfield tidy. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Cohesion, Councillor Nika Kizor, said, this campaign is of huge importance. It brings the community back to the heart of Enfield, and we hope it will engage and inspire many people. For more information about volunteering, visit www.enfield.gov.uk.
Is from our Enfield magazine. Chase Farm Hospital. Welcome to the future NHS. A modern environment helping us deliver an even better experience for our patients and staff. The new Chase Farm Hospital offers outpatient services and diagnostic tests, including imaging. Our urgent care centre will look after those who need medical treatment or advice for a minor illness or injury that isn't life-threatening, while our older persons assessment unit will see and treat patients aged 65 and over referred by their GP. We also have an endoscopy suite with 5 procedure rooms and 16 individual pods for admission, recovery and discharge, and a day unit with reclining chairs, built-in entertainment systems and pull-out screens to provide privacy for patients during chemotherapy and other medical procedures. The hospital will also be the location for most of the Royal Free London's planned surgery, including hip and knee replacements, general and gynecological surgery. There are 8 operating theatres dedicated day surgery, and 50 surgical inpatient beds to support this. Fit for the future. Patients have been at the heart of this redevelopment, informing and guiding our choices so we could build a hospital to meet their needs. New and innovative technologies such as self-check-in kiosks and clinical staff having mobile devices to access patient information at the touch of a button place the new hospital as one of the most digitally advanced in the NHS. Chase Farm Hospital is an integral part of the local community, and the new hospital includes a pharmacy, shop and cafe. There is also a changing places facility which supports people with profound disabilities who are attended to by a carer. Development of the surrounding area will also see new homes and a school established in the next few years. Finding your way around? All our services are now under one roof and in a space accessible to all. We have a hospital concierge service situated in the main lobby, and volunteers will be located around the hospital to help you find your way. We have used a combination of the latest technology, clear signage and zoning to help patients and visitors to easily find their way through the hospital. And the Urgent Care Centre is open every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and is located on the ground floor of the hospital. Contact us. Switchboard number is 020 3758 2000, and for more information www.royalfree.nhs.uk/chase-farm-hospital.
And back to the Independent for an item, tips to help feed your family on a budget. With budgets tight, many households may be looking for more ways to reduce mealtime costs. These 12 top tips come from Anders Nilsson from myvouchercodes.co.uk, and they may just cut the mustard. Number 1, create a meal plan. You can write this up and stick it on your fridge or print off a meal planner template. You'll be more likely to stick to a plan and won't risk running to the shops. 2, go with a shopping list. Scan the cupboards before you head out, and if you've got your meal plan set out for the week, then you already know what ingredients and products you're going to need. This will stop you from double buying items you already have at home. 3, buy frozen. While you might like fresh onions, peppers and vegetables, it can work out cheaper to buy frozen. 4, avoid shopping online. By hand-picking items yourself, you may get better use-by dates, and you have an easier comparison of alternatives if something is out of stock, keeping you within your budget. 5, buy in-season produce. Fruit and veg are much cheaper when they're in season, so take advantage of this. 6, pick own brand. Don't be a brand snob. Instead, go for a store's own products. These are often a fraction of the price and taste just as good as the well-known brands. 7, know the difference between best before and use-by dates. You don't always need to throw food away just because it's reached its best before date. Best before dates are about quality. If a product is slightly over its best before date but still looks and smells okay, it may still be fine to eat, despite not being as fresh as it once was. But use-by dates are about food safety. Foods can be eaten until the use-by date, but not after. After the use-by date, the food could be contaminated, even if it still looks okay. 8, portion control. Avoid piling plates too high, which can lead to more food going in the bin. Start out small and get through what's on your plate first. You can always go back for seconds if you're still hungry. 9, cook in batches. Batch cook meals such as cottage pie, chili and lasagna, and freeze what you don't eat for another time. Or make 2 meals from similar ingredients so you don't get bored of eating the same meal over a couple of days. For example, by adding kidney beans and chili powder to leftover bolognese to turn it into a chili. 10, use up leftovers. When you're using vegetables for a meal, blend any leftovers which are still usable and turn them into a soup. Similarly, use leftover fruit to make desserts, such as pies, sponges and banana bread. 11, research online. For more inspiration, make the most of free apps and blogs focused on feeding the family on a budget. And 12, grow your own. Growing your own can not only save money, but give you access to the freshest of ingredients, as well as teaching the kids about where food comes from.
The Oak Tree Memorial Garden opens at Lavender Hill Cemetery. Enfield Council's bereavement service would like to let residents know about the Oak Tree Memorial Garden, an ashes cremated remains burial option for Enfield residents. This new garden is located in the beautiful and peaceful Lavender Hill Cemetery on Cedar Road in Enfield. In the past, customers have had the Garden of Remembrance and Garden of Rest available. However, the bereavement service was keen to give customers a different option when choosing an ashes burial. Plots available at the Oak Tree Memorial Garden are smaller-sized plots that can hold up to 2 sets of ashes if needed. These plots are commemorated by a granite memorial and contrasting granite plaque with your choice of words on to celebrate the life of your loved one. Mrs. Baker is a local resident who chose to bury her husband, Peter Baker's ashes, at the Oak Tree Memorial Garden. Peter lived locally in Enfield for a lot of his life and was a footballer in the 1950s and 1960s. Mrs. Baker shared why she chose a plot within the Oak Tree Memorial Garden at Lavender Hill Cemetery. Our home is very close to Lavender Hill Cemetery, and I'm lucky enough to overlook the beautiful site. When looking for a burial plot for Peter's ashes, the team was superb and on hand to help with any questions we had. We chose to bury Peter's ashes in this area because Lavender Hill is such a quiet cemetery where we felt at peace. The option of a curb plot seemed more personal to me, and I liked the more delicate feel that it had. I like that the garden is close to the entrance, so I don't have to travel far and feel safe when visiting, even when I'm on my own. I really love the atmosphere around the garden, with it being surrounded with trees and in sight of the beautiful chapel. If you have recently lost a loved one and need some support or advice on what to do next, you can look at our bereavement guide located on our website at www.enfield.gov.uk/bereavement. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak to the team about the Oak Tree Memorial Garden, then please call 0208 379
Mark French,
3766.
who is the Vice Chair of Enfield North Constituency Labour Party, and it's headed Witch Hunt. I was at the Enfield North CLP meeting last week when a majority of the members present passed a motion of no confidence in Joan Ryan MP because of her recent conduct. I feel that I have to respond to the inaccurate commentary that has been made by her since that meeting. First of all, the Labour Party now has a membership of around 600,000 who can vote to elect the leading bodies of the party in a democratic way, unlike the other major UK political parties. In keeping with Labour's finest traditions of democracy and transparency, 5 days before the meeting was held, Enfield North CLP sent out a notice to all its 1,000 members that there was to be a vote on a motion of no confidence in Joan Ryan MP. Nearly 200 CLP members attended the meeting. At the meeting itself, there was plenty of time set aside for discussion prior to the vote being taken. The meeting was conducted in a polite, orderly and democratic way, with speakers for and against the motion. Joan was allowed to address the meeting before the vote was taken. There was no heckling at any time, and every speaker was treated with utmost respect. The motion was in fact passed by 95 votes to 92, and is a clear expression by the majority of Enfield North CLP members present of their dissatisfaction with the recent conduct of their MP. There's nothing intrinsically wrong about this basic exercise of democracy by the CLP members. I am sure that most of your readers would agree that democracy is a good thing. However, I am disappointed that following the meeting, Joan has labelled all those who opposed her as trots, Stalinists, communists and assorted hard left, and said that it was a secret and long-planned divisive campaign led by the party within a party, Momentum. Apart from being factually incorrect, my objection to these comments is that they are meant as a derogatory term of abuse and represent a cynical attempt to undermine the legitimacy of the vote that was passed at the meeting. That Joan has chosen to use such derogatory language when describing fellow Labour Party members is unbefitting of a parliamentarian and can only contribute to the creation of an unhealthy and intolerant atmosphere inside the party. Smearing and dehumanising people one disagrees with are the hallmarks of the McCarthyite witch hunt, and as such should have no place in a modern forward-looking democratic organisation like the Labour Party. The people of Enfield need a Labour government committed to halting the brutal anti-working class austerity policies brought in by the Tories and Lib Dems. Regrettably, by choosing to use abusive language towards those who disagree with her, Joan is continuing to behave in a divisive manner at a time when the vast majority of Labour Party members and voters want to see unity in preparation for the coming general election.
Kickstart your dream career at the Enfield Jobs, Apprenticeships and Training Fair. Sectors include construction, hospitality, logistics, manufacturing, not-for-profit, retail and more. There are some confirmed organisations, but it's very hard to read this. One says Construct, Lovell, Warburton's, Tottenham Hotspur Foundation, the NHS, and I'm afraid there's one I cannot really read. Anyway, these events are Friday the 28th of September, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Southbury Leisure Centre, Southbury Road, Enfield, EN1 1YP. There's free admission and there's no need to book. Don't forget to bring copies of your CV. Enfield Job Fair, and for more information, please visit www.enfield.gov.uk.
And now for some sport. Substitute scores twice on Towner's debut. Bricknell's dramatic impact earns a point. Lee Bricknell made an instant impact off the bench as Enfield Town moved up to second in the Bostik League Premier Division following a 2-2 draw at Lewes. The Towners were trailing 2-0 on Saturday when Andy Leese made a double substitution, which included the introduction of Bricknell, who, due to injury, had yet to make his competitive debut for the club. It was a move that paid impressive rewards as the former Billericay Town striker scored twice in quick succession to maintain his side's unbeaten league record as they moved on from the disappointment of their FA Cup exit the previous week. Enfield sought to make the early running as Sam Youngs shot off target while Dan Ruman saw one header go wide while another was saved. Following a lengthy delay for a clash of heads between Youngs and Harry Reid, which led to the Lewes player being carried off, both sides had further opportunities. But the Rooks had looked the more threatening in the final third in the first half, and they were to make a chance count. A Frank Chappell pass found Luke Bluden on the right, and his cross was headed home at the far post by John T. Smith. Young saw another effort saved by Lewis Carey in injury time. Town's position could have been worse heading into the second half had Joe Wright not produced a fine flying save to keep out a Nico Cotton drive. Although the game remained entertaining after the break, clear chances remained in short supply until Lewis doubled their advantage in the 58th minute. Slip by Ruman saw his side concede possession in a dangerous area, and the ball was worked to substitute Charlie Coppola, who hooked it over the line. Town stuck at it though, and Leese made his move from the bench with just under 20 minutes of normal time remaining. The gamble didn't pay immediate dividends for the visitors. Cotton shot over and Wright denied Coppola just in time. But with 10 minutes remaining, a long clearance from the Enfield keeper was headed on by Remy Sutton, and Bricknell fired past Carey on the return from the edge of the box. What followed less than 60 seconds later was even more impressive. The Towners substitute latched onto a loose ball and fired superbly past the Rooks keeper to net the equaliser. Town looked to have the momentum to push on for a late winner, but they were to finish the contest with 10 men after Sam Hatton was sent off following a melee in midfield. Enfield, who were preparing to face Kings Langley in a friendly at the time of going to press, are due to entertain Ware in the Velocity Trophy on Saturday.
Ignatians remain unbeaten. Jake Bates's boot proved pivotal in continuing victorious start. The good start to the London 2 North West season has continued for Enfield Ignatians after they beat Hackney 24-19 at Spring Hill on Saturday. Following their 41-5 thumping of Grasshoppers, Ignatians set their stall out early, and a dominant first-half performance yielded tries for captain Jake Bates and flanker Liam Dunn. Bates added a conversion and a penalty as the Blue and Golds were deservedly 15-7 in front at the break, although they did lose prop Dom Knott to the sin bin for 10 minutes. Beaten twice by Hackney last season, Ignatians had to weather a second-half fight back by the hosts, but the kicking prowess of Bates, who landed 5 of his 7 attempts at goal, proved the difference. Dave Gear, an impressive force at the breakdown, was Ignatians' man of the match. Bates said, "It's probably the best Hackney have played against us, and, had it been last season, we probably would have crumbled. It was a good win." One of 2 unbeaten sides in the league, Ignatians sit in second place behind Belsize Park. And their next game is away to Hemel Hempstead on Saturday, September 29.
And it's back to the round ball again. Under the heading Reese's Men secure Kirkley and Pakefield FA Vase reward, Borough enjoy another upset to advance. Enfield Borough again proved they are capable of overcoming teams from higher up the footballing pyramid by beating Sporting Bengal United 3-2 to reach the first round proper of the FA Vase. Sean Reese's side had gone into Sunday's tie off the back of a defeat in their previous Spartan South Midlands League Division 1 outing, but the Panthers rose to the challenge against their Essex Senior League opponents from one level higher. Borough's reward is a first-round tie against Suffolk side Kirkley and Pakefield after Tage Kennedy's brace and a rare goal for Dervin Hurd saw their side through. "We had Sporting watched in midweek, so we had an idea what to expect," Rees said after his side's victory. "We told the lads they would be quickly out of the blocks and to stay with them for the opening 15 minutes. However, we scored very early, which instilled a bit of confidence. I thought that we controlled the game pretty well against a very good side. We know that playing teams from a higher level brings the best out in us." Enfield got off to a flyer after 4 minutes when Richard Ennin fed Kennedy, who was on the shoulder of the last defender, and the striker timed his run perfectly to make the breakthrough. The visitors responded by hitting the crossbar from a free kick, but after Kennedy had seen an effort ruled out for offside, Borough doubled their lead in the 37th minute when right-back and captain Hurd scored only his second goal in 78 games in fine fashion with a swerving shot from 30 yards. United halved the deficit 5 minutes after the restart with a far post header following a free kick in the centre circle, only for their opponents to restore their 2-goal cushion just before the hour when Kennedy netted his second from a Brandon McKenna cross. There was late drama when Brian Shipangu was sent off for a second yellow card before Sporting scored their second goal from an injury-time penalty after Frank Chandler was penalised for an innocuous challenge, but it was not enough to prevent Borough from advancing.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Danny, John and Ali and Peter on the controls, it's
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with the Enfield Talking newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.